What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another deck analysis here for Zero to Hero Jet Burn. My name's Tam, and let's talk about the deck that we played tonight at time of recording. Headshot. Headshot's super neato. Neato guy. A 7-hander that pumps a ton of stats. 7-hander that builds out and blocks really easy. Kind of does everything that like a glass cannon 7-hander wants to do. And he's got a ton of support, and probably one of the cheapest, easiest decks that we can make in the game, truthfully, for it being the power level that it is. But let's just get into it. What this is this is a tier list that is essentially how good was the deck, right? I'm gonna put these cards in these different categories: overperformed, good, fine, bad. Tam is bad, didn't see. Overperformed, this card did really, really well. It did better than I expected. Good is just that. It was good. Fine was it was fine. It was okay. Nothing. It wasn't good. Wasn't bad. It was fine. Bad was I didn't like this card. If I could, I would not have it in my deck. Tam is bad. I think this card has more potential than what I was able to demonstrate with it tonight, and then didn't see a card I just didn't see, which I don't think I'm going to have any in this category tonight because of how much we ran through the thing. So with that, let's talk about Headshot himself. His character is good. I knew going into this character was good. He just, as long as you can find Canyon Cannon, Titan Cliff, Folded Body Skewer, or Thousand Sheep Pierce, as long as you can find one of those on your turn, and you have reviewed a foundation on your previous turn, everything getting +2/+2 or more is very good. It's just, we're putting him in the overperformed because he's an A tier character. He carried the whole thing. It was incredible. Moving on, Canyon Cannon, overperformed. Giving this thing +2/+2 after I review a foundation, Canyon Cannon more than likely is going to hit reviewing a foundation, and sometimes, most of the time, truthfully, it reviewed an attack as well, which meant that my building after I got done was easier, and my blocking it for defense if I didn't kill them was easier as well, and it wore stats really well. This is a 5-diff 7 high for 10 most of the time. It felt very, very strong as an opener. It was just incredibly strong. The next card that we're going to talk about is this Titan Cliff. Titan Cliff was good. I don't think that it was as good as Canyon Cannon for the review aspect, but it was just as good as Canyon Cannon and any other attack because of discard 3, draw 3, right? Discard 3 foundations I don't want, draw 2 foundations and an attack. We got there, right? We got the +1/+1 stat that we wanted, as well as we drew another attack to keep the string going, something like a Thousand Sheep Pierce, something like a Canyon Cannon to keep rocking it, as well as it built in the strongest foundations in my deck because they're all the good ones have 6 checks. The 23 Pro Hero, or Patient Observation, or the best foundation in my deck bar none, which we'll get to, Ultra Regeneration. This card just built in for free. Folded Body Skewer. This card overperformed. There was one turn inside of the tournament tonight that with Folded Body Skewer, I was able to give +7/+7. I'll say that again, +7/+7 to my attack string. I played it and we just reviewed, draw. It's like an even scarier version of what Titan Cliff can do, especially whenever used tactically with Thousand Sheep Pierce. I play Folded Body Skewer. All my things are gonna start reviewing things. I Thousand Sheep Pierce. Thousand Sheep Pierce by itself says all my moves get +2/+2, and I draw 2 bonus cards. It was really, really good. It was really, really strong. Which brings us to Thousand Sheep Pierce. This card overperformed. Truthfully, like this deck is so close to being like the meta void deck that like if you just have 4 Canyon Cannon, 4 Titan Cliff, 4,000 Sheep Pierce, you're just off to the races. Folded Body Skewer is not even necessary for the engine to work, but it felt good at the one of. I didn't mind the one of, but this card felt very good to just a 1,000 Sheep Pierce at least. Felt very good to play. There was a game that I block with this move, the next move gains flash mattered. There was the review mattered all the time, and the 2-check really didn't hurt that much. There is a bit of a risk whenever you're running 6 difficulties like Titan Cliff and then 2 checks like Thousand Sheep Pierce that it makes your aggro turns more inconsistent, but because of how easy this character is to build foundations out, it worked out fine. It worked out great. Electromagnetic Bullets. It was only a 3 of in my deck, and it was good. It was a good game ender, game closer. But genuinely, because of how potent and powerful Titan Cliff, Canyon, and Thousand Sheep Pierce was, I felt like I was only ever allowed to play like one of these, and it normally got there because it got, you know, +7/+7. And the best word on this card, truthfully, is just the word flash. The fact that we just get to flash this move, Edge Shot gives it the stats before the enhanced step. Hey, catch, here's the thing, is really, really strong. It makes me want to look at like different flash attacks as options inside of this deck, which is very cool. And then the last deck that we're playing, Velocity Rush. This card was fine. It's really good to go review with Edge Shot, Thousand Sheep Pierce, all my moves gain +2/+2, Velocity Rush with a momentum. And the issue with this card was that last sentence, with a momentum. Getting the momentum and keeping it was surprisingly hard tonight. I don't know if it was the decks that I was playing against, or just like the fact of like I had to spend my momentum defensively, but it was tough to have momentum whenever I played cards. And so for that reason, it was fine. It probably could have existed as like a 2 of and had something in its place. It probably would have been okay. Up next, we have Nullify. This card was good tonight because my deck is underpowered, and so stopping my opponent from doing a really potent, powerful thing was good, right? I fought against Hawks, and Hawks said, hey, my feathers don't count towards progressive this turn. And I went, yes, they do. And then my opponent added a feather out of their hand, and then played a 5 difficulty attack, and they went on a 6, and I went, on an 8. And so like they're like, oh yeah, you did cancel that. And so that is like the power of Nullify, and it's one of the only cards in the game that says cancel a character. Not a thing that happened tonight. Well, again, go back to Velocity Rush. I didn't have much momentum. But Nullify was very good at that one instance. Excuse me. On the other side, we have La Brava, which is bad. This card didn't matter at all. It was a time where I could give something plus either my Folded Body Skewer or my Thousand Sheep Pierce +3 speed. But it was on like the 3rd attack of the turn. My opponent didn't have any ready foundations. I had like +4/+4 to my stats. They weren't going to block it anyways. And so La Brava just sat there. And having a momentum card, the low block breaker one did come into effect one time, which was neat, but it probably should have just been literally any other foundation. And it'd have been great. On to the foundations. We're going to do some stuff, I guess, out of order on my UVS Ultra sheet. It's Acrobatic first. This card was so good tonight. I don't think it's an overperformer, but it was so good. I fought so many mid matters decks tonight, fighting against Feathers. I fought against the 6 diff. If this move's speed is 7 or more, I burn for 3. I fought against that Kuriguri. The gun. I just know it as gun. And it, like this card being a 2 mid block that cleared itself after I blocked was like really, really potent. It said that like Edge Shot made it a 1 mid and then it cleared itself. So essentially all my other moves got -1 speed because I didn't have that progressive to worry about. It was very strong. It was very good. Next we had Daunting Message. Probably in the good category as well. I had to. This character wants to be very defensive, right? We're afraid to go down to that less than half health area, but with things like Ultra Regeneration, we can float down and then come back up, which we'll get to eventually. And so being able to just turn off keep defensive pieces whenever I'm going to go in on my attack turn, if I'm at 9 or more, or 9 or less, excuse me, is very, very strong. Up next, Patient Observation. So this is Patient Observation is one of those cards that, as set 1 and 2 rotate, and we get to open up. This card could be seeing more play in decks. Discard Momentum Commit for -4 speed is good. It just is. It's a 2/6, which means we can build it in with Titancliff. This card felt good. At the very least, it was fine, right? I'll leave it in the fine category because the main thing that happened was I built it in so I could keep my strings going. But there was one turn where I was just like, hey, I really need to block this one attack. All right, commit, discard the momentum. Lost it out on the velocity rush, but that's okay. I'm gonna block this thing. This attack matters. I don't want it to hit me for 7. I'm gonna block it. Up next, we have Prone to Dry Eyes. Prone was fine. There was one game where I won off of the back of Edge Shot giving +3/+3 and a double prone activation on electromagnetic bullets. So my electromagnetic bullets was swinging in for 11 damage, and my opponent was at 9 or something like that, and they couldn't quite block it. I ran out of moves in my hand, so prone is the reason that I got to win that game. But truthfully, it's a bit of a take it or leave it. I'm happy that it existed in the deck, especially with the amount of like foundation and bonus card draw due to Titancliff and Thousand Sheet Pierce, because Thousand Sheet Pierce lets me go positive, right? Discard 1, draw 2. If they were both foundations, hey, I'll discard another one to Prone to Dry Eyes, and I'm feeling good. Red Riot's the coolest. Didn't see, wasn't relevant, didn't matter. It's a fine card, but all it is because I only have one of it, and I don't have any hardened moves in my deck. It's a 1/5 3-low block that says playable committed +2 damage. So if it looks like my opponent's not gonna block it, I can just like kind of get in there for a bit of bonus damage. They damage reduce my attack. Just kidding, I got you. The card probably just didn't need to exist in the deck. But like it's a playable committed card, and so why would we not? Up next, we've got Practical Studies. This card is fine. I got to see it one time. It said that like my opponent had to fight me a little harder on my Titancliffs or my Canyon Cannons from hitting, and those already start at such a high speed that like they're going to be reducing the speed, and I get to mitigate that just a little bit. The deadlock never came up, whether because my opponent was afraid. Sorry again. My opponent was afraid to go to deadlock, or like it wasn't on the board whenever it happened. It just didn't get there. Elasticity. Onto these ones. Elasticity overperformed, man. I was so afraid of I fought against Kurigiri 2, who was able to just block with cool things, block with cool breaker blocks out of my discard pile, out of their discard pile, excuse me. And there was one turn where my opponent like committed out for a big thing, and I had triple elasticity on my board, and I had a electromagnetic bullets as my next move, and my move was getting +X, and I ended up sending this electromagnetic bullets for 22 damage. I was like, catch, here it is. Hey, here's 6 + 9 plus another 5 from Edge Shot or whatever. Like, it felt very, very cool. Just to be like, hey, this one, it's doing your whole life total, and that was very awesome. And also like after I block -3 to the next one says that maybe you don't play an attack card, which means that it comes back to me, which means that I get to draw my review one, draw 7 cards, and then we're off to the races and just value. I want to see as many turns of the game as possible because I just get to outbuild you. Ultra Regeneration is the best card in the deck, and it's not close. Building it in with Titancliff, saying that I'm allowed to partial block a big damage move, draw 2. The most important thing that it does is it lets me draw, so I can either have defense or I have more options, very similar to 23 Pro Hero, to review. I got bonus review cards. And in the actual version of the deck, it's got this really cool interaction with things like Barrier Shield, in order to go pick up Barrier Shields if you're totally committed out and make some good blocks happen. And the 4 difficulty is not even that big of a deal because like if on turn 1 I review an attack, my cards get easier to play, and so I get to play Ultra Regeneration as a 3 diff. Even if I check a 2, I commit Edge Shot, and then we're fine. You just gotta play it safe afterwards. Card felt very, very good. Next we had Reluctant Role Model. This card was fine. Its main job was I don't want to block this, and so I'll tap the stats down to 5, so that Ultra Regeneration procced at the lowest number possible, right? You have a 7 damage move. I've got 3 of these on the board. I'm not going to flip all 3. I'm only going to flip 2 of them so that I can draw off my Ultra Regeneration. Felt good. Felt great. Bring It On. Surprisingly, it was good. Surprisingly good. My opponent draws a card on my turn, or better yet, on their turn. There's not a lot of cards in the game that says after you draw or add a card to your hand on your turn, I interact with that. And this is one of those cards that says that. I didn't get a chance to use the UA ability, but I also don't clear anything out of my card pool. This truly was just a disruption piece, and I'm playing a void deck, and I got to have disruption, which was very cool. The next one that we have is All Worked Up. This card was very good. Playable while committed, plus to my check in my 2-check 6-diff deck, and it also says if it was discarded, +1 damage. So Titan Cliff gets an extra damage, 1,000 Sheet Pierce gets an extra damage. If I discard it to Prone to Dry Eyes, I get an extra damage. All in all, just like value. Felt incredible. Creeped Out. This card is way better than it has any credit to have. +2 to my check to block is not speed, and so my opponent can't like reset it or whatever. They can't interact with the number. Very good. And then after they breaker me, stop it, I was fighting against a breaker for Kuraguri, and I had 2 of these out. I flipped and canceled 2 of the 4 breaker, and I still got to play and kill that turn, which felt really, really good. Up next, number 4, Pro Hero. Card's incredible. After I review it, I get to just build it down. Titan Cliff, Canyon, 1,000 Sheet Pierce, full to body skewer. It's good, as well as I can lift it to give something -2 speed, block with something else, review it, and then build it in, and it's like I didn't lift anything, I didn't lose anything. The only issue is that it is once per turn on the response, but that is what makes this card fair. I think that there will be a lot more edge shot turbo decks of just like, hey, I'm gonna find my number 4 Pro Heroes over and over and over again and just like race through them as quick as I can, if it wasn't once per turn. So thank goodness it is. And then my last one is number 23 Pro Hero. This card was fine. A little bonus review. I technically cheated with this card, but I learned something tonight. Is if your hand is full, like if I used triple Ultra Regeneration in 1 turn, and I drew up till I had 6 cards in my hand, and I had 2 number 23 Pro Heroes, and I responded with both and drew to 8 cards. I was like, oh, I'll choose not to review. I'll build pass. And then Twitch chat helped me out and said, hey, you can't respond if you have the same number of cards in your hand. You can't go above your hand size with number 23 Pro Hero, which makes sense. When you think about it, it makes sense. But this card was fine. Honestly, in this deck, it's either like fine or it could even be bad. If there's a better 6-check that we can find inside of these areas, it's probably like I was playing it at a 2 of. Because of the fact that we can build it in with Titan Cliff, I'd probably run it at a 1 of and something else like a real spicy piece of tech at a 1 of. But it was fine. Nothing to write home about. But all in all, this deck felt incredible. The only card that didn't pull its weight was La Brava, but we kind of went into this expecting La Brava not to really pull her weight. With that said, you guys, if you like this, make sure you check out the VOD where I went 3-0 tonight at time of recording, playing this awesome deck, and go join me over on Patreon. Make your voices heard on who should I play next. I played Headshot tonight because Patreon asked me to. If there's a deck or a character that you want me to play in these 0 to Hero challenges, let me know on the polls that I'm doing every single week. With that, you guys, thank you much for watching, and as always, I wish you well.